Good morning and welcome to Peace Out, where we are all learning together and hopefully figuring out how to peace out. And hopefully it's getting a little easier. I had a lot of practice this weekend. Trust me, you just never know what a day's going to bring, right? So we had lots of practice this weekend on just learning how to peace out, even when you get bad news, even when you get in between news, even when you get good news. Excuse me, sometimes you've got to just peace out. And you know what's really cool about it? God's peace is always there. He doesn't say, "Oh no, I didn't apply to that situation," or I don't do that kind of stuff," or "That's not my expertise or my forte." He's always available, and his peace is always available. But that's not what I'm going to talk about today. Yesterday, I started thinking about two stories in the Bible. I'm going to look at one of them today, and then I'll probably look at the other one tomorrow. But I was thinking about actually Joseph and David and how their brothers were jealous of them, right? And so when we look at David's story, I was looking at right here in chapter 17 of 1 Samuel. He's come out to bring his brothers food from his dad. His dad, Jesse, his dad said, "Take your brothers some bread and cheese and see how they're doing and go to the battle and look and make sure everybody's okay and come back and tell me." David said, "I can do that." So he goes to the front of the battle, gives his brothers the food, and then he learns about Goliath. Goliath is coming out and saying, "Who's going to kill me?" And so David's like, "So what do you get when you kill him?" And you get all this money, you get the favor of the king and the king's daughter, and Saul, of course, is king now. And so David's just asking around, okay, what did you get? What did the king promise the person who kills this giant that's blaspheming the name of our God, right? And so he's asking these questions, and his brother, Eliab, his oldest brother, comes up to him and says, "Why did you come down here?" Well, David was sent by his father, right? He said, "Why did you come down here? And who did you leave your little sheep in the wilderness?" He's trying to put him in his place, right? He's like, "You've got pride, your heart's not right, for you've come down just to see the battle." And David's like, "What did I do?" And so I had to start think back, and I thought, his brothers were jealous, but why? Why would his brother be that way with him, right? Well, I go back a few chapters, and Samuel came to Jesse's house to anoint one of his sons as king, right? They didn't know who it was going to be, and so Samuel said, "Bring all of your sons to the dinner." Jesse didn't even go get David. He didn't even bring him in. And Samuel followed God so closely, he knew that none of those standing before him, although they were probably could legitimately be anointed as king, none of them were the ones that God wanted to anoint. And he finally asked, because they brought each one. Well, the brothers didn't just leave. They witnessed this. They saw all of them come through, and then Samuel go, "No, it's not none of y'all. None of y'all are the one God wants to anoint for king." And that had to just, because they were like, I'm sure, guess who was puffed up with pride? Now that's what his brother's accusing him of here, is that he's prideful. But who might have had a little more pride there? And it's funny how the enemy will, or even other people, we as human nature tend to accuse people of the things we're guilty of, because we judge according to our own motives and not theirs, because we don't know theirs, we just know ours, right? And so all his brothers had to stand there, and each one was brought up, and Samuel was going, "Nope, nope, nope." And finally, after all of them were there, Samuel said, "Is this all of your sons? I know one of your sons is going to be king, but none of them none of these are the match." And Jesse finally says, "Well, there's little David out back with the sheep." And he said, "Well, go get him." And when David comes in, the mood had to have changed. And all of his brothers had to just watch, probably in horror, as the prophet anointed David, the one out keeping the sheep, the youngest among all of them, the bratty little brother, gets anointed to be king. We don't have any words there, but it just makes me think they were probably really jealous, right? Because God passed over all of them. And what was it? God told Samuel. Samuel was going, "Oh, this one looks like a good king. He's strong and he's big." And God's like, "No, not that one." And he's like, "Oh, this one looks like a good king. He seems to be wise and composed." God's like, "No, it's not that one." Here's ruddy little David comes in, and God goes, "That's the one." Because God said, "I don't look at the person on the outside like you do. I'm looking at the heart. I'm not looking at this person through someone else's eyes," God says, right? He's like, "I'm looking at them with my eyes, and I can see into their heart. I know their thoughts. I know their love of me. And, his brothers may not have seen him out on the back 40 playing the harp, worshiping God with all of his heart where nobody could. Yeah, I do that too with my guitar when nobody's around because I don't want to hurt anybody's ears or feelings. I pull out my guitar and I just sing to God, and it's a beautiful thing. God gets that. His brothers didn't see David doing that, right? They didn't see that. David probably even hid it from them so they wouldn't, right? Because it was special between him and God. But his heart, God even said, David is a man after my own heart. He sees our heart. He sees what's going on in our lives. He sees. And so here we take David. David's just fixing to kill Goliath. But you know what? David is also fixing to be in the biggest battle of his life, and it's not even with Goliath. Goliath is going to be a big problem, but he's going to fall hard and fast. But David's going to run for years from Saul. So even though David, we tell the story of David and Goliath, we sometimes miss that wasn't the end. There were more battles, and we have more battles too. And you know what? God's up for every single one of them. He's got us, and he never says, I'm not going to take out that Goliath, or I'm not going to be with you in the cave. Oh, you brought this on yourself. Just run some more. We'll figure it out later. No, God was with David in the cave, and we see that in Psalm 31 as David poured out his heart when he was hiding in the cave. God was with him. David continued to trust God, even though he didn't see what God had promised him come to pass for many more years. See, God didn't prophesy Goliath, but he prophesied that he was going to be king, right? And so here David is. He's fixing to face Goliath, and we tell this story over and over because it's the biggest thing we can even imagine, going out to face something so much bigger than yourself. But don't we do that every single day? I mean, I'm facing some things bigger than myself. Are you facing some things bigger than yourself? God didn't leave David out there and go, well, yeah, go take out that giant. Let me see how that's going to go. He went with him. He didn't leave David when he went to the cave. He went with him. And God was with David all those years that Saul was pursuing. It doesn't seem fair. God had already anointed him as king, and yet he didn't just immediately become king. And sometimes God tells us things. Sometimes it's even just that he's going to give us peace when everything seems like it's broken. Or he's going to give us his grace when nothing seems like it's working right. He's going to give us his mercy when all kinds of bad news come our way. The good thing is he's with us in the cave. He's with us on the field. We're facing our giants. He's with us when I see several classmates watching, and we lost a friend yesterday. Yeah. He's with us in that. He's with us. He didn't leave us. He didn't go, I don't know, that's rough. I'll come back later. He's with us, right? He's with us. He loves us. He's got enough grace for today. We just have to lean in just a little bit more so we can hear his heartbeat, so we can hear him singing over us, so we can let him carry us. I use that phrase a lot with my caregiver community. Today's just a day he's going to have to carry me. And you know what? It's okay. He'll do it every single time. We can trust him, and that's why we can peace out. Peace out, no matter what anybody says about you or says to you or does to you. Peace out. God's got you. Have a great day. I'll see you all tomorrow.